Welcome to the Ladies Who Leverage podcast, where we empower women to own their power, create influence and impact, and live life unapologetically AF. It's time to leverage your expertise, resources, and relationships to build your business, brand, and badassery. So just click subscribe and let's get it. I'm your host, Kelly Charles Collins. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Ladies Who Leverage podcast. And I'm your host, Kelly Charles Collins. Today, we have an amazing guest. Her name is Pattie Ehsaei, and she is known as the Duchess of Decorum. So I have to tell y'all with that, it's all about etiquette. And poor me, I sat here and put on my lip gloss while she was sitting here watching. So that's probably... That's probably not the best form of etiquette.
All good. It's all good.
But we're here. All right. So I want to give you a little bit of background about Pattie before we start chatting. And I'm so happy to speak to her because, like me, she's kind of a left brain, right brain person. And I think we're just the most magnificent people in the world. So Pattie was born in Iran. And she moved to Los Angeles as a youth and has spent the last 20 years in a multi-faceted career in finance. Focused mostly in finance. She attended Loyola Law School, and it was during this time that she taught herself proper etiquette with limited resources. So from relationship management, business development, investment banking, and raising capital from sovereign wealth funds and private equity, Pattie has seen all sides of that industry. But here's the really interesting part. Within the last year, Pattie has created a TikTok account as a way to provide education, advice, and techniques to help young folks navigate their way through work, finances, social settings, and more. So she has a really direct approach in her TikToks, but it's also really peppered with a lot of levity, and she gives you real takeaways. So I think that's a great thing. And so it has made her an instant success to the point of this. Listen to this, you all. That in the less than 6 months, she grew her TikTok following to 400,000 followers. Yep, you heard that right. 400,000 followers. And I love when you say this, Pattie, that it has become appointment television for your growing audience. So Pattie, thank you so much for being a guest on the Ladies Who Leverage podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. It's going to be fun.
This is fun. So I said, that you went to Loyola Law School, that you're in finance, and then we have this whole thing around TikTok. But I want to start on the legal and finance side. Tell us a little bit more about your background and whether, we talked briefly before about practicing, and you said that like me, you weren't practicing anymore, but talk about those transitions also.
Sure. So I was a prosecutor for about 5 years in Cook County State's Attorney's Office in Chicago. And I got sick and tired of the weather. It was so cold, I couldn't take it anymore. So I moved to the West Coast. I was going to think about practicing maybe bankruptcy law or something like that. I'd taken the bar, I passed. And it's really serendipitous. I was at a job fair, not even for me, for my friend. My friend was like, there's a sales job fair, just come with me. I'm like, all right, I have nothing else to do. So I went, and Wells Fargo was there. And I just started talking to the guy at the booth. Like, it was nothing really that I was intentionally speaking with him about. And he really liked me. And I liked him. And he said, you know what, we are in the merchant services department. That's where they do credit card processing. And he's like, we're really looking to grow this division. So in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm a lawyer, like selling credit card servicing isn't really what I want to do.
No.
Yeah. And then he was like, well, we are looking to grow and expand, and there will be some management opportunities. And then that's when I was like, oh, and, I always tell people on my TikTok, don't be short-sighted, be long-sighted, right? So if there's growth opportunities, you may have to take a step back to take a few steps forward. So I said, okay. I was like, so what do I have to do in order to get a management job? And he's like, well, you'll have to sell. I was like, you know what? All right, let's do this. I'm like, why not? It was an opportunity that kind of fell in my lap. And I went door to door selling credit card processing. Okay. So I went from a lawyer doing that. And, I started in like the hottest area in LA, and I didn't know LA back then because I just moved here in the Valley. It was like 110 degrees. I had on a suit, heels, carrying this credit card machine. I mean, my suit was just like plastered on me. And I did that. And after 4 months, I was the top salesperson in the country.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I was like, now you're going to give me a management job. So 2 months later, they gave me a management position, and then it just went on from there. And I just continued to advance.
That is awesome. And I want to ask you though, about going from lawyer, right? So we know the status of lawyer, and then knocking door to door. Mm-hmm. How did you deal with that? Because I know there's so many people who think, oh my God, I could never, right? I just could never. I'm a lawyer. I went to law school, and now you want me to go out here and sell stuff and knock on doors. Yep. So what was it about you that you were just like, whatever, I'm going out here to do this?
Yeah. I've always been a fan of checking your ego to get ahead. A lot of people don't know how to do that. And that's a huge mistake in their careers because, well, I'm not going to do this. I'm above this. But again, you have to be long-sighted, right? You have to look at what is the goal and how am I going to get there? So I may have to do a few things I don't like right now, but in the long run, it's going to be better for me. And even when I was a prosecutor, I was making $30,000 a year in Chicago, right? I wasn't making anything. And I came out of law school with $160,000 worth of student loans. And my parents had passed away. I had a younger brother that I had to take care of. So I was waitressing at night. So I was a prosecutor by day and I was a waitress by night. So you just kind of got to do what you got to do in order to survive. And I think, that came from being an immigrant and coming to this country, not speaking the language. So you have these survival skills and these survival instincts that really serve you throughout your entire life.
Yeah. One of the things for me, like when I was practicing, because kind of like you, I've done all kinds of, I've done a lot of different things, even during practicing law, like teaching and, I had a wedding and event planning business, and I just did the things. And one of the things that I always told myself from the very, very beginning was that being a lawyer is what I did for a living, not who I was as a person.
Absolutely.
And so it was okay that I would go do something else because I wasn't tied to lawyer, right? I was tied to how am I going to do the things that I need to do to get where I need to go. Yep. And what I found was in doing that, like you said, being more long-sighted is that you gain so many different skills that serve you well, right? So for me, all the things that I did around teaching and all of those things now serve me well in what I'm doing. And so I think that was so great of you to just be like, okay, listen, let me take this on and let me go. So now you became the top salesperson. And then what happened? Where did you go from there?
And then they gave me 2 months later, they gave me a management position. So I was a territory manager. And then 6 months after that, the regional manager left and that position was open. And I had no shot at getting that job, literally no shot. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. Worst they can say is no, right? So, and we all knew who was going to get this job. This guy that had been there for a while. He was also a top performer. He'd been there for a few years. We're like, this guy, we know he's the guy that's going to get the job. But I interviewed. So I interviewed, and in the interview, I told the person interviewing me, my boss's boss, I was like, listen, I know that this person is slated to get the job and I support that. I think this can be wonderful. Whatever you do, don't bring some Yahoo from Missouri to do this job in LA because we're a different market. So, you have to bring someone that's familiar with this market. So a week later, I get a call and they're like, yeah, we want to offer you the regional management job. I was like, what? Like my mind was blown. I couldn't even believe it. And I'm like, what happened to so-and-so? They're like, well, he decided that he really doesn't want to be a manager. And I said, well, what about everybody else that, interviewed? And they're like, well, what you said about don't bring a Yahoo into the marketplace and someone has to be familiar showed that you were really familiar with what we were doing here and that you were confident and we want to offer you the position. So, yeah, so I got that regional management job when I didn't even expect it. So, again, another thing people really need to talk about and think about is just throw your name in the hat, who cares?
Right.
Let's see what happens.
Right.
And then
because if they say no, Patty, if they say no, you're in no worse position.
exactly. I'm like,
But
okay,
now they know, like you, like now they know who you are. They've spoken to you. If something, even if you don't get that position, something else may come up, and they're like, "Oh, you remember Patty who was, talk for that other position?" So you're right. I mean, you have to, it's so funny because I think men definitely do it more than women, right?
100%.
They will go in there on their potential.
Yep.
we want to go in there based on like what we can actually do or have done, as opposed to just being like, "No, I'm, hey, and even if I don't get it, I want you to know that I'm here."
Absolutely. And, every job that I've gotten, honestly, I've never been qualified for. I've just thrown my name in, and I went in with the same amount of confidence that men go in when they go into interviews, because I've seen the difference. I have seen men come in that don't have the skills, that are interviewing with me, for example, that don't have the skills, but they're so confident what they're saying. Then I'll have a woman walk in and her skills are so much above and beyond the guy that I just interviewed, but she just doesn't have the confidence in herself. So, that's half the battle, is just having confidence and going in there, being like, I know I can do it. And so what if you don't know exactly what you're doing? Figure it out. You're going to figure it out. You have to bet on yourself and know that you're going to figure it out, and you're going to figure out just as well as any other man can.
Yeah. And so, Patty, did you ever think about, so you were a prosecutor for 5 years and then you got into finance. Did you ever think about going back to practicing law or merging the two in any way?
No, I really didn't, because being a prosecutor is the only thing I really ever wanted to do. I never wanted to sit behind a desk. I have ADD, and I'm also dyslexic. So sitting behind a desk in a corporate job like that just wasn't something that ever appealed to me. So I always said, if I won the lottery, I'd go back to being a prosecutor, just because I love that type of work so much.
Yeah, I loved being a public defender. I always tell people that is the best training. The things that I learned how to do, right? So, and we know this from being, prosecutor defense in the courtroom. You have to learn to think on your feet, man. You have to be quick. You have to be able to pivot on a dime. It's like, no, we're not doing this case today. We're doing this one. Oh, okay, let's go. Right.
Let me prepare. Let me read it really quickly.
Oh, we got to pick a jury. Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So it was some of the best trainings that I received, but I transitioned into employment law after that and practiced law for, quite a long time.
Right.
And so when you, you're still in finance.
Yes, I am.
Where are you now in terms of what you do?
I do mergers and acquisitions financing.
Okay.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Okay, so still all about the numbers, y'all, which is fascinating, right? For a former lawyer, because I always tell people I don't do numbers. I don't want anything to do with that.
Honestly, I don't either.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be honest with you. I don't either, but I've learned. So, and I surround myself with people that are good with numbers, right? So I'm good with I'm good with the selling aspect of it. I'm good with the big picture. I'm good with the strategy. I'm good with all of that. But I surround myself with people that are excellent at the numbers. And then that's what helps you succeed.
Yeah. And that's a good lesson, right? Many of the viewers and the listeners of Ladies Who Leverage podcast are entrepreneurs or, business owners who have taken over somebody's business or, are in a family business. And that's so important when we're thinking about team, right? Because that's a thing that, helps us to scale and helps us to do the things and be the visionary. So for you, example, being the visionary and understanding, being up here and understand the overall vision and goals and what needs to be done, but really surrounding yourself with the people who are better at doing those types of things. Absolutely. And I think that often that is something that scares us, especially high achieving women, right? About delegating. So in that regard, Patty, what would you say to women who are entrepreneurs who, really have the ability to be these amazing visionaries and, take their businesses to the next level, but are afraid to let go of the control and bring other people in to do those things like the numbers or the marketing or whatever it is, to give them the space?
Right. So my advice would be that nobody is good at everything. Nobody. I don't care who you are, right? So you have to really maximize your skills. Figure out what you're good at. And that is where you're going to shine. The other stuff that you're not so good at, you have to be able to delegate to other people and understand that they're going to help you. A lot of people are threatened by, other people coming in and working with them. And that can't be a threat because again, you're going to have the confidence to know that you're going to shine. And these people are part of your team that are going to help you shine. So let go a little bit of the control. I always say, inspect what you expect. So watch what they're doing, make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, know enough about what they're doing to be able to analyze it as well. But also know that you can't do it by yourself. You just can't. I don't care how good you are. Nobody in this world does it by themselves. And the people that you surround yourself with are probably the most important thing you can do to succeed in business.
Yeah, absolutely. And in talking about team and, just talking about having other people around you and dealing with other people, I want to switch directions right now and talk about etiquette and how we got to you being the Duchess of Decorum. So where did that name come from?
People just started calling me that. They were like, oh, you're the Decorum Queen, you're the Duchess. And then I was like, I kind of like Duchess of Decorum. So then, yeah, it just kind of stuck.
And why is it what were you doing that made people think, yeah, you're the Duchess of Decorum?
I was really teaching workplace decorum and table etiquette. Those are the main things that I was teaching. I definitely teach, finances, but that also goes towards social decorum. It's what to do with your money, how to spend it, things like that. But I mainly started with workplace decorum, interviewing decorum, table etiquette, and that's where it came from.
What made you get involved? I know I mentioned in the beginning that when you were in law school, this is something that you started to get interested in and started working on. But what was it about being in law school or that time in your life that, had you start thinking about etiquette and being really involved in learning about etiquette?
Sure. Yeah. So, I come from an underserved background. My parents weren't rich. I've worked since I was 14 years old. And I really wasn't around rich people until I got to law school. And when I got to law school, I would go out to lunch or dinner or even afternoon tea with my friends. And they had all gone to cotillion. They all had rich parents. So it was clear that they knew what they were doing. And I looked like I was raised in a barn. I was so embarrassed, I would, for example, we went to afternoon tea. I'll never forget. I was stirring my tea. You're not supposed to make any noise. And I was like, clink, 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 clink. And everybody at the Four Seasons was staring at me. And these people what are you doing? And I learned very quickly that if I wanted to advance in the social ladder or professional ladder, then I really needed to learn etiquette. So back then, the internet wasn't a thing. And I just went to the library and I checked out as many books as I could. I read the books. I practiced on my dining room table to just to perfect it. I watched people around me doing it. And then, I just really learned it enough to be able to teach it.
Yeah. And then you decide that you're going to not only do this, you're going to take this to TikTok. So let's talk about how we get from prosecutor to finance to now etiquette to now we are on TikTok. And the thing that really fascinates me about the TikTok is that you are in, as a lawyer and now in finance, such regulated industries.
Yep.
Right. And so then we have TikTok and it just seems that there's not an alignment, but watching your TikTok, I see where it is. But when you thought about, what made you even think about getting on TikTok? And when you did you think that, some people, in my finance world may not be so happy and excited about me getting onto this platform?
Yes. So I want to answer the last question first. Yes, I did think that. And for the longest time, I try to separate myself out, my professional career and my TikTok career. But then I thought, I'm not saying anything in TikTok that's not true or that doesn't benefit people. The only reason I started my TikTok channel is to teach people things they didn't know to help them navigate life better. So it's something beneficial. So it's something that I can't be embarrassed about, right? So if I'm embarrassed about it, why am I doing it?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I am about, it going into my professional career. But how I thought about doing it is I have done a lot of work with big brothers and big sisters. I used to be a big sister. I headed up their workplace program at a few of the companies that I work with. And right before the pandemic, I was scheduled to go speak at 2 or 3 of their events. And I speak about, again, workplace decorum, interviewing, all of these things, some etiquette. And when the pandemic happened, they all shut down. I was like, you know what, how can I get this information out there? Because I know that it's so important for people to know this information. And at 2:30 in the morning, I woke up, I was like, oh my gosh, I can make videos. It literally 2:30 in the morning. And I woke up my boyfriend, I'm like, I can make videos. And he's like, are you crazy? So I started there, and his niece had her own YouTube channel. So I called her the next day. I was like, I would need you to be my editor. And we started doing videos. And at first I started doing videos on YouTube. And they were like 5 to 6 minutes long. And I was getting 25 views on a good day. Okay. On a good day. And another teaching in this is, okay, you're not always going to be successful the first time, right? So I was looking at the analytics. I analyzed it. I was like, all right, after about 1.5 minutes, that's when people are jumping off. Okay. Hey, why don't I go to TikTok? Because TikTok is 1 minute long, right? If attention span is that short, I can provide the information in 1 minute. So I locked myself in the room for 4 days. I created 100 TikTok videos.
Are you serious, Pattie?
TikTok videos, yes, for 4 days. I did nothing but that. I gave it to my editor. She edited them. We put them up on TikTok, 3 of them a day for 30 days for the first month. And that's how I started growing my TikTok channel.
Okay. So let's talk about doing 100 videos, because I'm like having trouble even just doing one. And I know there's so many women who, because social media, right? Everybody's like, you got to be on social media. You have to be on TikTok. You have to be on Instagram. You have to be on Facebook. You have to be on. Why did you pick? I know that you said like the minute videos, but do you also do them on Instagram, or you really focus on TikTok?
I mainly focus on TikTok. I just started to focus a little bit more on Instagram. And the reason I wasn't on Instagram is because unless you're doing an Instagram reel, it's 30 seconds, and that really isn't enough. So, and reels are just now starting to really pick up. So it was mostly a TikTok play, but now I am on Instagram because, you really have to be, right? And, I'll be honest, it's that I don't love being on Instagram, because so much of that is, look at me, look at all the cool stuff I'm doing. Look at this, look at that. And, to me, that's just not very genuine. Right. And it's not, so I don't like anything that's not genuine. If I have to make it up, it just doesn't feel right to me. And maybe it's a mistake, but that's just what it is. So Instagram is something that I am doing, but I will post things that I do, like what we're doing today. And but I try to keep it as genuine as possible.
Yeah. It's so funny because I have a love-hate relationship with all of social media. And Instagram, I was not on until like last year. My sister was like, you need to get on Instagram. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it. And then TikTok, I have a TikTok account, but I really do nothing with it. But I have to say that watching your TikTok, I could see how it could be beneficial, right? And I think, and I want you to talk about the way in which you do your TikToks, because there's so many women, I think, who are thinking, well, I go on TikTok and I just see people dancing, I see people doing this, and I don't really, how am I going to use that for my business? I'm in finance, I'm a lawyer, I am, I'm a coach. What is the best way? And I loved watching yours because they were really, they were short, but filled with so much information. And there was sort of a pattern to what you were doing. So without giving away all your trade secrets, what are some of the tips that you would give to the viewers and listeners about, really honing in? Because I think that was the thing too, that you said, okay, I'm going to go on TikTok. I'm going to hone in. I'm going to go lock myself away, create these and put them out with this strategy. So what are some of the things that you would tell the audience about, if they were going to leverage a platform like TikTok, like some best practices?
The first thing I would say is understand what you have to offer to the audience that they don't already know. So the most successful TikTok channels, the most successful TikTok videos are things that are teaching people things they didn't know. So for example, I see a lot of like workout videos. They're teaching people, oh, this is the right form to do this, right? Or finance. Oh, you should invest your money this way. So anything that is not common knowledge to people is very, very important. And whatever you put out, you have to know that this is something that's of value to people. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of TikTokers are just dancers and they dance and whatever. And people find value in that too. And I'm not putting that down. I'm saying that those people, they have the most followers, but they don't have necessarily the most engagement. So engagement is also important. That means people commenting on your videos. How many people are engaged in your videos versus just liking, right? So engagement is important. So you have to give people things to think about and to think through when they're watching your videos. And after watching your videos, every single person that's watched your video should be able to take something from it. Yeah. And if you follow that, I think that is really crucial to having a successful TikTok video. And also, it's hard work. People don't understand how hard it is. For any video that I make that's a minute long, that's about 45 minutes worth of work, at least. And that's just me. That's not including the editing. So, you have to write the copy. You have to really set it up to where how you're going to say it. Make sure your background is okay. Make sure your lighting is okay. You're going to do it 3, 4, sometimes even 10 times before you get it right. Yeah. So it's really hard work and time consuming. So don't think you're just like getting a camera and making a video and it's going to go viral. That rarely happens.
Yeah. And I think that last part is the part that scares a lot of people. I know it's something for me, like I don't want to spend all that time doing that. And I think on the other side of people not wanting to do that, right, or being afraid of the time commitment is thinking, well, what is the return on my investment? So now I'm investing all this time to do all these videos and put it on TikTok and somebody's engaging with me. So for you, Pattie, what has been the return on that investment of your time and your energy on TikTok?
The best return I've gotten on my investment is when I get comments saying, you have changed my life because you did this. That is the biggest return. And if you're going into this wanting to be famous, doing it for money, doing it for, all those reasons, you're not going to be great at it because it's not coming from your heart. Right. So, I'll get comments. I remember this comment I got from this woman and it really touched me. She said, she watches all my etiquette videos. And she said, thank you for your etiquette videos because my daughter married into a very rich family. And at the wedding, I felt like I belonged because I had watched your videos. Or, a girl saying, thank you for your TikTok videos on interviewing. I followed everything that you said. I got the job within 10 minutes. That is what this is about. And that's what it should be about for you. Everything else will come.
Yeah. I talked to, I run Ladies Who Leverage, which is a global women's community. And I talked to the women about that, about increasing your influence and creating impact, and the income will come, right? So oftentimes we're going after the income first without creating an impact. And when you start to impact people's lives, even if they are not, so for the women who are coaches and, have businesses where they're using TikTok to get clientele, creating that connection is important, right? Yes. And I understand all that. I still don't want to do TikTok.
You don't have to, right?
But even watching you even watching your TikTok, I could see, right? Because I think that's part of it too. Maybe finding someone who is similar in terms of how you would want to come across on TikTok, and just looking at the rhythm of it, and you know how you're putting across the content. Because when I watched you, I could easily see you know, doing something for a minute and a half, where you're just giving these nuggets of information. And for you, like when you look at your TikTok, it's you, right? And it's basically the background that you have now. You have on, you know, your different tops or whatever, but there's not a whole lot of fanfare around it. It's just, here's the information. I love that you're so real on there.
Thank you.
I love how real you are on there. But you do give really good information in a short period of time. And like you said, that people can actually take that information and go do something with it.
Yes.
And I think, I guess for other people who are watching, you know, for them, there may be like a call to action at the end, you know, related to their business, but it does give you a good little framework of how you could show up, right, in all of your power on TikTok.
Yeah. And you have to watch TikTok videos if you want to do TikTok. I spend a lot of time on TikTok because whatever your craft is, you have to watch other people do it. For you, I'm sure you've watched a lot of podcasts, right? Just to get ideas and see how people are doing it. If you're an author, you have to read. If you're a basketball player, you got to watch film. So, you know, if you want to be on TikTok, you got to watch a lot of TikTok and just see how people do it. And then you'll get ideas. You'll form your own way of doing it, but that's how you get ideas on how to even start if you have no clue.
Yeah. And just to not be afraid, you know, as I was saying, that when you think about where you are in your business and, you know, what other people might think, right? Like, oh, you're on TikTok. I mean, I guess now most people don't worry about it as much because everybody's on TikTok, but because everybody's on TikTok doesn't mean that you should be doing everything that is on TikTok.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, people are going to see that. So don't put anything on TikTok or on social media that you don't want the world to see, including your boss or the CEO of your company.
Yep, absolutely. So, what would you say when we're talking about etiquette, and we're talking about TikTok or really any social media? What are some tips that you would give the audience so that they could avoid social media faux pas?
Yes. So what I just said is never put anything on social media you don't want the world to see. Okay. Right. But I have this acronym that I've created, and it's called DRIPS with 2 S's. So these are the things that should never be on social media. Okay. Anything that's drug or alcohol related, anything that's religion or religious related. The I is for anything that's illegal. Okay. P is for politics. Anything that's sexual in nature. And then the other S is any like company secrets or proprietary information from your company. Those are things that should never go on TikTok. And if you follow those guidelines, I think that you're going to be okay.
Yeah. That last one, I think, is so important because it was funny. I was watching TikTok the other day, and there was a video, and it was a recipe they were showing, or how a company did something. I was like, I don't know that should be on TikTok and on your TikTok. So I don't know if you'll have a job tomorrow.
Right. Well, company has social media policies. Most companies do.
Right.
And so you have to read your social media policy for your company. Before I started doing TikTok, that's the first thing I did. I went to our social media policy and figured out what I could and couldn't talk about, and then followed those guidelines.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are all great, great tips, because sometimes we just do the things and we're not thinking of, again, going back to what you said from the very beginning about being long-sighted, right? We do it because everybody else is doing, or do you see somebody talking about their job and you want to talk about your job or what's happening there? You're in your uniform, you have your name tag on, all of the things. And it's like, not so good, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's so important for us to step back and to leverage all these things. So it's really important for us to leverage all of these things, but to do it in a way that doesn't impact you negatively.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I just love talking to you. And I have to tell you this, Pattie. I did not know this though. I saw your TikTok. It came up on my For You page. Now I watch TikTok, but not for research. I just watch it to laugh. It was the one where you said, I just got propositioned to be this guy's side piece. Right?
Yes.
But I saw it probably a couple of weeks ago. And I didn't realize that was you. Oh. And so as I was doing the research to interview you, and I looked again last night and I was like, that was...
Yes.
That was Pattie.
We even talk about those
5-year-old dude.
Yeah. Right. But you know, I thought about whether I wanted to put that up or not, but it again goes back to, you know, knowing your worth.
Yeah.
And knowing how to react when someone's disrespecting you as a woman. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to put it out there because people could benefit from that. It's one of my most successful videos. Yeah,
I loved it. And I started laughing so hard yesterday because I was like, I didn't even realize that was her. So you never know. You show up in, in places. So yes, it's awesome. Well, Pattie, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today on the Ladies Who Leverage podcast. Please let everyone know where they can follow you on TikTok.
Sure. Duchess of Decorum. And then on Instagram at Duchess of Decorum.
Okay. And we'll make sure that that's in the show notes so that you all can follow her. Her TikTok is great. The advice, quick to the point, but very actionable. And I love that part of the focus is for young people, because I think that they are the ones that are, will have some missteps along the way, especially because of the age that they've grown up in and just everything just being out there. So again, thank you so much for joining us on the Ladies Who Leverage podcast. Everyone, thank you again for tuning in. As you know, every Monday at 9 a.m., we drop a new episode. We really want to make sure that we are providing information that empowers women, that enlightens you, also entertains you, right? But we want to make sure that you have the skills and you also have the inspiration and motivation to really stand in your power. I'm all about women standing in their power. And so make sure that you tune in, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode. And for you female entrepreneurs and business owners who are looking for your group of women, your sisterhood, your tribe, whatever it is that you want to call them, to help support you, inspire you, push you, and hold you accountable to make sure that you achieve your goals to build a thriving business, and as we say, live life unapologetically AF. I want to invite you to join our Ladies Who Leverage community. You can go to ladieswholeverage.com and learn more all about it. And if you have any questions, just let me know. But again, thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us. This podcast is brought to you by Lady Lawyer Media. If you're a badass woman who's ready to take action to live life unapologetically AF, then you need to join our global community on Facebook, Ladies Who Leverage. And remember to subscribe to our podcast. And until next time, let's collabosource, strategize, and monetize.